Hey, how's it going, everybody? JT here on behalf of the Ethfinance Community on Reddit. We have quite the show. We literally just put together this Zoom link not even 30 seconds
Hey guys,
ago.
can you hear me?
We can, but you got to join the Discord, Whack. Join the Discord and then mute on Zoom. Okay. So the Weekly Doots live stream is all about showcasing the best of the best of the week from Ethfinance Community on Reddit.
Hello?
This is a read-along reaction series, and if you want to follow along, head to dailydoots.com, designed and produced by Hani Abu. Big thanks to Tricky Troll for capturing and curating each day's Doots, and the A-Word for curating this beloved weekly list. Subscribe to us on Apple and iTunes. Just search Ethfinance EVMavericks. Also available on Libsyn, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. And we've got special guests today. My good friend Super Fizz reached out just yesterday, and we were like, hey, you should come on the show. So Super Fizz, welcome in, and Whack Attack from the Rocket Pool community dropped in. I'm not even kidding, 30 seconds ago. It's good to have both of you guys here.
We have like 3 rocket pool node operators in one room. That's a party.
What node?
That's how it should always be.
Well, gee whiz, man. So yeah, put a ping out there on Rocket Pool if they want to come in and hang out with us for a little bit. Really glad, Super Fizz, you were able to drop by. It's been a while since we've seen you on the podcast, and we always enjoy having you here. And I think you had some things you wanted to talk about, and Whack Attack has some things to talk about. But before we do this, we have to get to our morning roundup first. We're going to head right on over to our rundown of the rich list. Here we are right here. Hani Abu at 92, Ethical Trade at 98, Crypto Currency at 102, Set One Less at 103, 696 ETH at 105, Harag at 118, Tricky Troll at 125, Logri the Bard at 151, Benito 2030 climbing up to 152, and Super Fizz, the almighty everlasting man himself, sitting atop the leaderboard at 218. And last I checked, I'm going to scroll down this list here, but we have almost, looks like we are almost at 1,100 people that have made the Doots list. So from Super Fizz down to Zorro at position 1096. Welcome in all of our brand new Dooters who have made the Weekly Doots lists. Upcoming guests, we have Paul Brody from EY on November 1st, November 22nd, Nico from Lotto PGF, and December 6th, Mac from Kiwi News. And this is a yet to be announced guest, and we're going to firm details on this, but I believe we have somebody representing the Ethereum phone coming to join us. I found them on Twitter and reached out to them, and they said, yeah, we'll see what we can do. That's going to be sometime in November. All right, here we go. The morning roundup. We have day trader by H chimes in Ethereum. Frank the Tank gives us a score of $2,497 and $10.9 on that dismal ratio at 0.03688 on the Bitcoin ETH ratio. Our weekly haiku, courtesy of JS Tears. Think before you act. On chain, you are always tracked. The government got hacked. And that, my friends, I believe it was some funds that came from Bitwise. Was it Bitwise or something? There was a government wallet that got drained. Oh, boy. Welcome to the club, government. All right. And our ship post of the week, because we always like to save the best for first. User Tim with Not Tool Belt said, I thought Sol was the ETH killer. Shouldn't Kraken be building on Solana? Boom. There you go. Shouldn't Kraken be building on Solana? Well, there you go. Your ship post of the week. So we're going to pivot straight back over to our esteemed guests, Whack and Super Fizz. So Whack, out of the respect of your time, because we never respect Super Fizz's time, tell us what's going on in the Rocket Pool community. We got a big update coming out, it sounds like.
Yeah, we have. So I think Jasper popped into Ethfinance a couple of days ago and kind of gave a little bit of a summary of what's going on. But there's 2 really big, exciting things that are happening right now. The first one is a product called Constellation, which is like a layer 2 on top of Rocket Pool, launched just over a week ago. And there are up to almost 500 validators now already. And I've talked about this and gotten, a daily do talking about node set and Constellation on Ethfinance before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So they launched. So it's basically if you are a node operator like on Rocket Pool or a solo staker, and if you've got really good performance for the last 3 months, then you can get invited to this permissioned set of node operators that they build on top of Rocket Pool. So the way that it works is they have their own LST, two of them actually, one for ETH called XRETH and one for RPL called XRPL. XRETH is special LST in that it is 100% solo staker rewards will be going to people who mint this token. So there's no like Lido 10% commission, there's no Rocket Pool 14% commission, none of that. You just get pure staking rewards, which is amazing. So they went live. They've got 130 node operators active already, got 500 validators between them. They are doing amazing stuff on Rocket Pool already, and they're going to grow really well. So that's the first really exciting thing. The second really exciting thing is for people who are already node operators with Rocket Pool. There's a Saturn 0 upgrade coming, and this is an upgrade that actually happened really quickly in the community. Like, we made the Saturn 1 and Saturn 2 roadmap official, which is coming next year for Saturn 1 and then early 2026 for Saturn 2. But Saturn 0 kind of came out this idea that, look, we've changed Rocket Pool's direction and where we're going. So what can we implement now to really help Rocket Pool grow and succeed? And, we heard you all's criticism that we don't want RPL. RPL's performed badly. We don't want it to be compulsory to have RPL anymore. We want it to be optional for people. So, the community listened to this. So what we are doing on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, the UTC, midnight UTC on the 28th, we are implementing something called Saturn 0. Now, this is a brand new upgrade that will let you stake on Rocket Pool with no RPL requirement. However, if you bring RPL, you will get extra rewards. I'm putting out a special episode of Rocket Fuel tomorrow that is going to explain everything that goes into this upgrade. So you guys can look out for that if you want more information. There's Twitter threads from Jasper that goes into this upgrade. There's Ethfinance posts from me and from others that go into this update, like Daily Dooted posts. But what we're really looking at is there's 4 different kind of node operators that we think would succeed hugely with this. So the first one is people who have 16 ETH validators, right? So they didn't want to go down to LEB8s because they didn't want to have as much RPL. Like, they wanted to have less of their portfolio's RPL compared to, what you would need with LEB8s. Well, now there is absolutely no reason for those people to not go down because the RPL requirement has gone away. You go from, 1.14 times solo staking rewards on your 16 ETH validators all the way up to 1.3 times solo staking rewards. So your rewards go up like a very nice percentage there. If you do have RPL, you'll start getting bonus rewards on top of that, all the way up to 1.42 times solo staking rewards, depending on how much RPL you have. That caps out. The ETH rewards go up, capping out 10% collateral, which is kind of like where people are now. The second cohort is people who kind of spun down validators because they wanted to maintain the RPL ratio. Sadly, we were really upset. We lost a lot of TVL with those people. Well, now they can bring those validators back to Rocket Pool without needing any kind of RPL. They don't need to add any more RPL to their requirement to do that, which is pretty exciting as well. The third cohort is like new node operators, who like Rocket Pool, who love like the ethos of Rocket Pool, the Ethereum alignment of Rocket Pool, but they just couldn't bring themselves to buy any RPL. Well, now, we open the doors for these people and they're welcome to come without needing any RPL as well. And they can earn that, 1.3 times solo staking rewards. And the final cohort is solo stakers. I'm so sorry about this, Fizz, but solo stakers, they have one validator on Ethereum. They're adding, a certain amount of decentralization to Ethereum. Now they can bring that 32 ETH to Rocket Pool, spin up 4 validators with that without needing any RPL. There's a slight additional smart contract risk, but the Rocket Pool contracts, have Lindy for nearly 3 years now, so they are solid as a rock contracts. So if you are interested in doing this, what you will get in return is a 30% increase in your solo staking rewards. So if you are getting, 3% APR, you now get close to 4% APR. So that is, I think, a really nice, attractive bonus for solo stakers as well. So those are the 4 cohorts that we're really looking at, and the bonus prize for everyone. So if you are a Rocket Pool node operator and if you are under collateralized right now on your RPL, you might have been under collateralized for many months, not gotten any RPL rewards. Well, everyone will start getting RPL rewards. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift the curve. So there's no minimum cliff now. So anyone from, like, even if you have one RPL, you'll start getting rewards. But after 15% collateral, you'll go back to the curve that you were before. And this was voted in very strongly by the community. There's huge community, like, positive sentiment around this whole development. And the whole purpose of this is, like, the common question is, hey, if you don't need RPL anymore, then isn't that going to make RPL worthless? Well, no. And the idea of that, because is, with Saturn 1 and Saturn 2, we are going to have direct value capture for RPL, the token. So people who stake with RPL will start earning ETH rewards, which is incredible. Like, this is the fee switch, right, being turned on for RPL. The thing is, like, to make that maximally effective, we need as much TVL as possible. And we basically don't want to go into Saturn 1 with limited TVL, because what will happen is, it'll be a damp squib on day one. People will be like, where are my ETH rewards? Whereas if we get the ball rolling now, if we can grow our TVL now, by the time Saturn 1 comes around, people will be like, wow, I'm getting really good ETH rewards here. Like, some of the modeling has come out to be like, 10% ETH rewards for your RPL. So that's 3 times ETH staking rewards, basically. But that, of course, that will hit an equilibrium eventually. It might be just, tracking above solo staking rewards, like maybe a percentage point higher, to kind of account for the fluctuation in RPL price. But people will then get to pick how they want their exposure to RPL. And, we're getting ahead of all that by doing it now. So I've just been talking for like 5 or 10 minutes straight. So thank you so much for listening. If either of you or if anyone on the call has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Before Saturday, I can't stay for too long, so I'll have to dash. But thank you so much, JT, for giving me the opportunity to kind of explain this to your audience. The main thing is, if you are on the 16 ETH validator on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, bond reduced right away, because we've got 25,000 ETH in the deposit pool, and I expect that to be gone very, very quickly because of all these different cohorts that are going to be able to spin up validators with Rocket Pool, and we're going to get a queue. So if you want to get ahead of that, be early. Gas costs are normally quite low on Sunday nights, so you'll have a playground to act towards. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Nice job. Nice job. Super Fizz, go ahead.
I'm not offended at all by, well, I want people to solo stake from home. I want people to stake with 32 Ether from home. I do believe that is the gold standard for staking on Ethereum. But, I'm also happy to see Rocket Pool succeed. I'm obviously, like, a longtime fan. I'm a Rocket Pool staker. And I think for everyone, it's about balance. It's like finding the right balance for you. I have both solo and Rocket Pool validators, and it's me. It's finding my own balance. What would I be comfortable with in a worst case scenario? And it's just finding that balance. And that's not to cast any shadow on Rocket Pool. I don't ever expect, any loss. It's well secured. Yeah. But it's just finding balance.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Fizz, that you make. And I'm in the past, I've been kind of guilty of saying, hey, come to Rocket Pool because Rocket Pool is better than solo staking. But now I'm very much of the idea that, look, whatever works for you, we're just trying to make it as accessible as possible. So if Rocket Pool works for you, if you think the numbers make sense for you, then we will welcome you with open arms. But if you want to solo stake, then more power to you. Like, solo stakers are the backbone of Ethereum. We love solo staking. We love home staking. And like you, Fizz, many of our node operators actually have both solo staking rigs and Rocket Pool rigs. So, like, that's totally fine. You're welcome in our community.
I also, this whole whatever works for you, and I say that so much myself, but whatever works for you ought to also be something that considers the decentralization and security of the network. If you're choosing fully centralized providers, if you're giving your money to someone else, you're risking yourself and the network. So whatever works for you isn't necessarily, I don't think either of us is considering that the easiest thing. It means it's the thing that takes all of the different variables into balance, and choosing a thing that's good for you, good for the network, good for your income, good for your technical ability. It's kind of a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah, that's so true.
Thanks so much for stopping by, and it was a really last minute deal. I'm glad you could you could come and talk a little bit about this, and certainly throw a top level post on the front page of Ethfinance, and as well as toss it in the daily. I see Logri the Bard unmuted there for a second. Did you want to add?
Yeah, sure. I have plenty of questions. One, I'm sure you covered this. I just joined late, but is the RPL inflation schedule changing?
Yeah. So right now it's not. So RPL is inflating at 5% a year. 70% of that inflation goes to node operators, and 30% of it goes to the PDAO. And out of that, we fund grants and incentives for our ETH, and also money goes towards the funding of the Rocket Pool team to do the development work. So that is not actually changing until Saturn 2. So from Saturn 0 goes live on Sunday night. Saturn 1 is estimated to go live in July of 2025, and a tentative timeline for Saturn 2 is January, probably Q1 of 2026. Now, with Q1 of 2026, that's when the RPL inflation will go down to 1.5% instead of 5%, and that 1.5% will be going to the DAO. And like I said, it'll carry on funding grants, it'll carry on funding incentives, it'll carry on funding the team as well. So that will remain, but we're going to slash the inflation for RPL down 70%, just to cover those essential costs basically, and get rid of node operator rewards in terms of RPL. That's because those node operators will start getting rewards in ETH terms instead of RPL terms.
Okay. Other than that, I'd just say it feels a bit like a shift towards familiar billing models like Lido's using, where there's a fee that the Lido DAO, etc., takes, and then up to now there was no such fee, like value capture for Rocket Pool, right? It was everything went to the node operators and everything went to the RETH depositors, and that feels directionally right. Like you kind of have to, you can't just rely on inflation, right? That just drives things down eventually through debasement. So you have to rely on some type of fee sharing so that every necessary participant in the ecosystem is getting some of the money being made by the participants in the ecosystem, right?
Absolutely.
So it does seem like a directionally correct tokenomics play.
That's actually going to start from Saturn 1, which is coming in, tentatively July 2025. And at that point, what we're going to do is introduce something called a universal variable revenue split. So there are certain parameters that we are going to, like Rocket Pool earns, our income for the protocol is the 14% commission we get from our ETH holders. Now, what we do with that 14% commission is going to go into this URAS basically, and we're going to say, look, if we need node operators, then we're going to give node operators a little bit more from that 14%. If we need people to be more involved in governance, then we'll give people who stake with RPL a little bit more, that. And then if we are balanced out on all of those things, then some of that, well, in Saturn 1, it will just go towards people who stake RPL with their ETH. In Saturn 2, that's when we can change and add potentially a burn mechanism or some kind of buy RPL and provide liquidity kind of incentives as well. So that is still an active area of discussion for the community. But like I said, that's like a year and a half out potentially. So we've still got some time to figure that out. But the idea is that revenue split is coming to the RPL holders.
I recall there was a variable rate on the commission at the launch of Rocket Pool, and all it caused was people to never deposit until the commission was on the higher end of the spectrum. So I wonder if bringing back your variable rate is going to bring back similar games on behalf of node operators.
We've actually got a way of fixing that now. So in the original version of Rocket Pool, when you set up a validator, you were locked at that bond for the lifetime of the validator. However, with Saturn 1, what we're doing is introducing something called contract upgradability to the validators themselves. So right now those upgrades are opt-in. So it's up to the up to the node operator to apply changes to their validators. And if they don't do that, then those will stay the way they are forever. So those people who locked in those 20% commission rates, they're still locked in at that. There's nothing that Rocket Pool can do to change that. However, with Saturn 1, the incentives are going to be so good, the reward is going to be so good that we expect every node operator to migrate to something we're calling mega pools, and mega pools are going to be designed with that being upgradable by the protocol, not by the. It'll be it'll be like forced opt-in basically. So when we adjust those commission rates, it won't be for the lifetime of the mini pool anymore. It will depend on what we need in the protocol. So that won't be the case anymore. So that gaming aspect of it will kind of go away.
All right, good. Any other questions from anybody on Discord? And then I think we'll go from there. Yeah, like I said, post the top level stuff. Okay, so just a quick recap. Sunday is going to be the first plan of action, right? That people can execute some of this stuff on. And so find Whack Whack Attack on YouTube. He's got his podcast, Rock and Roll. And you said you're doing a special edition. When does that come out again?
That's coming out tomorrow morning. Just an explainer of Session 0, the update that's coming on Sunday, and just what it changes, how it helps node operators, what we're trying to achieve with it, what the purpose of it are. So it's like a nice 50-minute episode with one of the people who was involved in the research of it, and he just kind of explains the whole project. So if you want to know everything, that's what you want to listen to. If you want an overview of what's going on, then Jasper put out a really good tweet thread a couple of days ago that you can find quite near the top of his Twitter profile, and that explains a lot of Constellation from NodeSet and also Saturn 0, and he's kind of presenting this as being a pivotal point in Rocket Pool, and changing Rocket Pool for the good. So check those out as well if you want that information.
All right, Whack Whack Attack, find him on X, listen to the podcast, get your ETH ready. Looks like we're going to have a party on Sunday. All right, take care, my friend.
Yeah, we're going to be partying.
Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. All right, Super Fizz, my man. You were talking about something in the daily. I have no idea what it was. Did you say emery or ephemeral?
Do I ever have any idea what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you sometimes do.
No.
Well, I'm just glad. I'm glad you were able to make it back, my man. And
I'm glad to hang out with you.
We were supposed to hang out in person this weekend.
You stood me up.
My wife and I were going to go visit his lovely area, and it ended up being she could not find a substitute to hang out with the kids today. So for her birthday. And so she's at the school. Her birthday was yesterday. She's at the school hanging with the kids, doing what she does. Actually, they were so short-staffed at the school. I actually went back and did substitute teaching and hung out with the third grade for the day. I felt like I was back in familiar territory. But yeah, I wear a lot of different
Can we talk about
hats.
school policy for a minute? Can we talk about how school districts don't really prioritize funding or staffing substitute positions, and they put teachers over a barrel when they need to take off, and they end up making them feel guilty? And I don't know, it's kind of so it's like they can say we couldn't find enough subs. There is this magic green stuff that makes subs
it's amazing
come out of the woodwork.
I know.
If you really wanted subs, they could materialize. Anyway, sorry.
It's like the mycelium of the plant world, that funny green stuff we could. It's I don't even want to say on the live stream how much they pay substitute teachers, because it would blow people away, and it's like, man, these are these are our children, man. This is a
some people don't know
issue more than
in my pre-Ethereum life. I worked in schools for 20 years, and it every day it was this this school-wide scramble to cover positions where teachers, they get sick, they deserve a day off, and there's just this mystery of why we can never find enough subs.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm off topic, aren't I?
Money is speech, and society is telling you how much it values the education of our children right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go.
It's funny what that speech says. It's kind of discouraging.
There you go.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of discouraging speech if you look at it through that lens in our society.
Yeah.
And, you have to ask, how well is our governance system producing outcomes that align with the values of the participants? And I think that poll again shows we're doing a pretty bad job of value alignment, right? But then still, I think there's some signal in there that we have so many problems that only the loudest and most extinction causing ones even can get any attention, right? Like we can't solve, just to name a few, like nuclear proliferation, wars, climate change, antibacterial resistance, ocean acidification. Like we got problems, right?
Okay,
We have
Logan, you're a super smart guy. How long do you think it's going to be before something substantial changes in either United States or world governance, so that so obviously we're on this path right now where the privileged are rewarded with more privilege. How long before there's a seismic shift?
I think we're living through the collapse of an empire. And I think we've been living through the gradual collapse of an empire since about 1971. And it is going to become more and more pronounced. I think existing trends will continue to be existing trends. But at some point between now and $300 trillion of national debt, something's going to break. And that's going to basically lead to a different reserve currency. And I'm not saying it's going to be Bitcoin or Ether. It could be gold. It could be a variety of currencies for a short amount of time. It's not the world history trend, but still, it's possible that we see like a BRICS coalition jump to gold, and we see a North American collection create like a carbon, a Bancor style solution like there was before the petrodollar rise, right? But when you take away the US dollar as the main export of the US, because no one values it anymore, or at least globally enough to purchase and denominate all their debt in it, you take away most of the power we exert around the globe. And then, our military might will fall, and you'll go back to a multi-power solution around the world where there's not a superpower. And then you add in a bunch of climate change and global instability from that, and a lot of genocides and a couple billion deaths. And you'll basically get a collapse down to something closer to norm over the next 50 to 100 years.
That sounds a little bit like that cycle that mice or rabbits or uninhibited species take, that rise and fall cycle.
Yeah, so usually by this point in the wealth inequality, heads were already rolling in places like France in the past. But due to current technology, I don't think that you can have a peasant revolt. Like a couple soldiers, the kill rate, the ratio of soldier to peasant, allows a small number of loyal military to suppress hundreds of millions of people effectively.
Well, I don't think it requires physical suppression anymore. It's now technological suppression.
I was going to get to that. And with the rise of AI and the ability to profile people and pick out leaders before unrest can organize, I think, and we wiped away our rights with the Patriot Act. So all they have to do is accuse you of terrorism, and whoosh you go, right? So we no longer have the fundamental rights enshrined in law that protect us from that type of just, for example, the border control comes and snags you off the street like Trump had people do in Seattle and Oregon a while ago. They already tried that. There was no legal recourse, so you can bet that someone else is going to pick up, if not Trump, someone else is going to pick up that playbook again because it's been tried and it worked. So they'll just... that the border control can come within like 100 miles of a border, which is pretty much the entire populated region of the U.S. When you account for shorelines, for example. So yeah, it's a pretty grim picture. But what we can hope for is that we're developing some coordination technologies, and that once things get bad enough, there will be a Article 5 convention at some point in order to reform the Constitution, our governance structure towards something. And hopefully by then we've got 20 or 30 years of proven governance upgrades and technologies from cryptocurrency, where we're rapidly evolving on these things. And hopefully the next generation will be able to produce a system that better aligns the outcomes of the values of its participants.
The rise and fall of civilization.
It isn't just a U.S. problem though, right? It's going to be a global crash, and when you remove a Leviathan theory of justice or governance or imposition of will, currently all we have that's holding some of these things in check is the fact that someone has the biggest stick, and then that person is being reasonably ethical. When you remove that check on humanity, and you allow our worst impulses to rise with fear from immigration, instability, and mass migrations due to climate change, you can get some really dark news stories out of that. So yeah, you asked, and that's my shitty answer. That's the world
That
I'm
was
bringing my children into.
that's exactly where I yeah, we're aligned.
So that's what I'm bringing my children into. So my question is, how do I insulate my children from that and prepare them for the world ahead? Right.
Well, I think you prepare your children through the Ephemery testnet. Was that a segue?
That'll do it. Sure, they'll know what that is. You know, you're a 4-year-old. Here you go. This is the Ephemery testnet. Here's how it's gonna work.
Hey, Ephemery is the perfect testnet for a 4-year-old. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Though
You aren't wrong.
I came to shill. Actually, I came to hang out with JT, but I did want to shill Ephemery.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, and so people love to accuse, like, I'm shilling Ephemery, therefore I must be making money from Ephemery. There's no money in Ephemery. Well, okay, hold on. ETHStaker, I think, has given a grant of like 12K to Ephemery. I'm not getting any money from Ephemery. I just think it's a really cool and exciting thing that I want other people to know about.
All right.
One of the hardest things of getting started in Ethereum is not starting in Ethereum, but as a staker, is getting on a testnet, is getting that testnet ether and staking, and it can be hard. So the Ephemery testnet it's an ephemeral testnet. It lasts 28 days and then it resets. All of the ether goes back to where it began, and you can go to a faucet and collect thousands and thousands of Ephemery ether and feel super, super rich. It's really great in MetaMask when it shows that you have like $50 million of ether it's on a testnet. It's not real. So you can start with Ephemery at ephemery.dev. It's a fancy word, so it's EPHEMERY.dev. And ephemery.dev, it really has a lot of high-level resources that won't make sense to many people. But I created a YouTube video yesterday showing a walkthrough of how to get started on that testnet. And so it's really great. Like, if you want to be a staker, if you just want to understand how staking works, if you're 4 years old and you don't have much ETH to your name, you can get started with the Ephemery testnet.
I'm showing the website ephemery.dev.
And so this is probably more nerdy than many people can handle. But if you search for Superfizz Ephemery on Google, you'll find the YouTube video where I show a whole walkthrough of getting set up and getting a validator running. And it's really, I'm all about egalitarianism. I want everyone to have access. There we go. It's top one. Hey, and oh geez, yeah, I heard my own voice. It's just gonna show you how to get started, and then you can run a validator for 28 days, and then it's gone. Or if you want to test smart contracts, if you want to deploy contracts, and you're kind of new to it. My only caveat: Ephemery is still being integrated into all of the clients. I've really encouraged other protocols to integrate as well. Right now, most things are designed for like mainnet and Haleski or whatever testnet. But I'm encouraging integration of Ephemery so that people can test anything they want here. So yeah, that's my show.
Cool. Ephemery.dev if you want to check that out, and check out Superfizz's video on getting it set up. He's got a 43-minute video that shows you all the steps you need to get going on that. Very cool. And it says testnet using Geth and Lodestar on this video. You released it. And
so if
34.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I just want to mention Geth and Lodestar. If you know anything about me, I'm obsessed with client diversity. It is probably one of the things I talk about more than anything. And Geth is a majority client. They have like 50% of validators right now. I don't normally encourage anyone to run Geth, but because they're still working on tooling and getting all of the clients working, Geth is just one that I was able to use. Lodestar is a consensus client. It currently has 0.0% of network share. And it's a very robust client. So I would definitely encourage you to check out Lodestar. I'm using it. I love it. I don't count for it more than 0.0% of the network, but it's still a great client.
Excellent. Very, very cool. All right. Well, there you go. Ephemery.dev and Superphys's video get you on your way. How about we get down on some Doots? What do you say? Let's go ahead and hit it. dailydoots.com. Read along if you'd like. Minimal Gravitas makes a FUD fighting appreciation post. Minimal Gravitas is a Duder number 42. Shout out to Epic Trader for pushing back on the misinformation and false narratives on RCC. And a reminder for anyone with an interest in this space to take a look over there and in our Ethereum periodically to provide some insights and sanity to discussions if you have any to spare. There's a lot of nonsense spread by Bitcoin maxis, Buttcoin moderators, and Alt L1 bag holders. And if you don't want them controlling the narrative on Ethereum, then you can be in the change you want to see. Yeah, very well said. I feel like it's been a crazy freaking battle last few months for sure. So get out there. All right. Our number four, Duder number 7 this week. Covers some quantum computing news, and user Harog, of course, provides more context. User our number 4 says Chinese researchers break RSA encryption with a quantum computer, and here's why it's not a problem. And there's a link to cryptostackexchange.com. Let's open this up briefly. Yeah. The question on here, this was 12 years ago. It was posted. Is it true that breaking a 1024-bit RSA key is as difficult as breaking a 128-bit symmetric key? I know breaking an RSA key is equivalent to factoring the modulus. To factor it, you have to see if any number between 2 and any number divided 2 divides n, right? But that would be still much greater than 2 to 128th trials, which is worst case scenario for cracking a 128-bit AES key. Then how is breaking a 128-bit AES key the same? And then it goes on with a long explanation. And then Harog says to give a bit of context, they used D-Wave's quantum annealer, which normally are not called quantum computers as they use a different principle. Generally, these quantum annealers can only solve a very narrow set of optimization problems. When people talk about cracking cryptography, they always refer to proper quantum computers, for which example Shor's algorithm has been developed. And to the best of my knowledge, no one has a quantum computer to run Shor's algorithm, even for the smallest of RSA key lengths. The Chinese group found a way to use such a quantum annealer optimization to help factorize a 50-bit RSA integer. Nowadays, RSA key length should be at least 2,048 bits long and normally should be 4,096 bits long. To the best of my knowledge, the longest RSA key that has been cracked a few years ago was 829 bits long. Classical computers are still far ahead. As far as I see, the paper itself has been published in a very niche journal, which not really solidifies the credibility of their approach, as the review process in many of these journals is severely lacking, even more so than in established journals. As far as I see, the results are viewed negatively. See here for an example for a more in-depth discussion. That's at Forbes.com. Do not get me wrong, though, Harog goes on. Quantum computers are an important thing to keep in mind and follow. This result published by this group is just not very meaningful, but it might be a small step in the direction we expect the quantum computing space to go. Not today, not tomorrow, but in a few years. Overall, the progress is slower than I expected it a few years ago, but we are definitely in the direction of quantum computers becoming a problem for encryption in our lifetime. The source, I think a few years ago, the majority of large quantum computing labs ran a qubit stabilization algorithm I helped develop in the company that I was working at. Holy crap, Harog. Not sure how many actually used it, but most of them bought it. I left the company many years ago, but still meet former colleagues and we chat about development in this space. Great job, Harag. Thank you for replying to our number 4 on computing news and quantum computers in general. Tricky Troll starts a discussion about FUD busting Ethereum. Do you guys think that there would be value in some sort of FUD busting Ethereum platform, a bit like what ETHUB used to be in 2018 to 2020, which we could use to combat things like the misinformation and link to it in responses to all of the blatant lies which get spread on places like our Ethereum and Twitter? I'm still unemployed after finishing my master's, and I love learning more about Ethereum and helping to bust all of the FUD and other subreddits. But I don't know anything about making websites, and then also finding a way to integrate the easy answers and information into places where it is needed, like our Ethereum and Twitter. Maybe this could be a good project to spin out of the EVMavericks. Anyway, I'd happily create content for such a place, a bit like more permanent posts like many duders here make from time to time. A bit of an Ethereum FUD fighting handbook. I actually just did a grant ecosystem outline for eStaker, and I could tell you that there's plenty of grant money up for grabs for legitimate projects. So what do you guys think? Is such a thing needed? Does it already exist? And if it is needed and doesn't already exist, we could spin something up out of this community. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I got my own thoughts
Sounds
on
like
this.
a lot of work.
It sounds like a lot of work, but I feel like the name of the website should be notsofast.com or something like that. Like, there's got to be something.
My reply was, can we just like train an AI on this, and then have the website just, you spit in the misinformation, and it spits out a reply you can copy paste and drop there.
Yeah, it's almost like AI generated community notes on a certain topic.
Yeah, so as these topics come up, we just, continue training the model with the extra information. So old FUD still has the old training data, and I don't think it would take that much iteration. I mean, I've got the H100s like available if anyone wants to make the training set and work on that with me.
Yeah. Tricky Troll looks like he's down. He's down for giving it a shot.
I don't think Tricky Troll has any idea how to label data for training AI, but
no, but I'm saying, like, if you connect with them and you he's willing to write
content.
Yeah, he's willing to do some work towards this. This is a thing that's been so frustrating is we have all these friends on Ethfinance. We have friends on, Telegram and friends on Discord, and everybody is complaining about the same thing. It's the complaining about being barbelled by, just fake innovation in other places, coupled with like the Bitcoin narrative, this whole barbell situation of information. They're just frankly tired of fighting. And it's like, what is there that could drive any permanence of truth? Like the value set of most people in Ethereum is, decentralization first.
Yeah.
Right?
The problem fundamentally is Brandolini's law, which states that the effort required to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude more than required to create it. So unless we can figure out something like an AI to get the cost of refuting bullshit down by an order of magnitude, and then even if we have an equivalent amount of effort, we're still only going to get 10% of the result from the people that are generating the bullshit.
Yeah.
The people that are generating the bullshit are also the ones profiting from it. So they have every motivation to work harder than we do.
Yeah.
So we have, if we want to organize on this, I'm fine. As I said, I have something I can offer, but we need to be smart about it.
Yeah.
And maybe Tricky wants to learn, some AI skills. It'd be good for him anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to.
If it could be
I'm willing to host it. Willing to host it. I'll say that.
Yeah, good. See, that's just it. It's like running this podcast it's not reaching hardly anybody. It's reaching all the people I like, but it's not really changing anybody's minds out there, and haters aren't going to listen to it anyway. But it would be nice whenever the FUD comes around, if there was just this general honeypot of information that even people like Anthony Sassano and Anti-Prosynthesis on X or whoever, they could just be like, nope, here's the facts, boom, and just get on with it, you know, and be able to read the replies. I don't know. It is lofty, like you said. It's going to be a big undertaking, and
Sassano would like to work with us as well. I mean, imagine a website where you go in there, you stick in your FUD or your misinformation, it spits out your prompt that says like what an automatic reply would be, and then if you don't like that one, you could submit an alternative for review, and then we can have people like Tricky or Anthony Sassano or Justin Drake, whatever, fact check these things so that bad data doesn't get in there. And then as good data gets in there, we just keep training the model and evolving on it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually at that point an organization, but there's not, I mean, I think you could use some like Gitcoin grants to fund that, right?
Yeah.
And
I think we talked about Gitcoin grants in one of these posts.
And it's way more sustainable of an option than having Minimal Gravitas and Tricky Troll, and Sassano like just burn the fuck out.
Yeah, that's what's happening. It's like it's like it's sad. I've never seen more depression. And it's like there's so many things.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a weird.
The price is at like 2,500, and you'd think it was at 200.
Exactly.
Like you think that everyone lost their shirt, and everyone's just like, oh no.
Yeah, it's like look at all this stuff.
It's a little bit of entitlement, certainly, but I think it, as I've said before, it also just feels unfair. Like we know that from the network fundamentals, we're doing fine. We know that like the devs are shipping what they say they're going to be shipping, that the plan is unfolding as well as was anticipated. So it's like we bought into this plan, they're executing, everything seems to be working, and the price is just being out competed by scams and unsustainable and bullshit and like maxi troll FUD and armies of minions, I guess, right? Like not any intelligence behind them, but just a swarm of them. And like, we are Legion. I can respect that, but I also can respect the power of automation technology. So when I look at how to fight that, I'm an AI engineer. So when all you know is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah.
So this is how I would approach it.
Right on. Well, good. Yeah, but I don't know who's going to step up and help him with that. Hani Abu with the dailydoots.com site. It's awesome. I want to share this, and I don't know if people even know this that are regulars, that down at the bottom here, he has 2 extra sections. One is like user profiles on Reddit. All these known people that have projects that are going on, and he's got dozens and dozens and dozens of people that are recognized on Reddit. This is just the ones he knows about, and that's 70 people just in our little community. And then he has a whole delegates page. So if you're a delegate or somebody who's a delegate, I mean, he's keeping track of all this stuff. So if you want to choose one of our own community members to delegate in different projects, I don't know. It's just, this is stuff that we've built already. Now, I guess Tricky Troll needs to just have he needs a pool of absolute truths. I don't know. It's noble, and I wish him the best, and he's willing to work, and it's kind of like what we do here. If you're willing to work and put a little bit of effort in, you don't have to do the whole thing. You can just do some things, and it's a lovely thing what comes out the other side. All right, user 18 Boro, duder number 14, starts a discussion about blob fees, and user PA7X1 weighs in on the issue and its proposed change. User PA7X1 is like an OG. Yeah, 73. Okay, 18 Boro says, I'm sort of following the discussions around the proposal on a minimum cost for blobs. Since this is currently not production ready, this will be implemented in Pectra 2 at the earliest, right? Also, how about thoughts on this? It makes sense to me, but my technical understanding is very superficial. We really can't afford blobs to enter a potentially high fee market. That will erode their purpose as a low fee environment on Ethereum. That means we will need to continue increasing blobs capacity. But with no minimum costs, the L2s will continue to live free on Ethereum. User PA7X1 replies, one way to think about it, the current minimum blob fee is one way. This figure is as arbitrary as any other. It just happens to be the minimal denomination of ETH in the protocol. So it was a lazy choice, or maybe better put, a lack of explicit choice that happened to set the minimal blob price there. If the minimal denomination of ETH would have been higher, that same lazy choice would have resulted in a different minimal base fee. A more sensible choice is to place it somewhere where blobs are still very cheap when used under capacity, so that the network incentivizes adoption. But when the network observes actual demand, blob price discovery can happen in a reasonably short time frame. The EIP makes an attempt to do exactly this. And to be honest, the precise figure you set it at does not matter that much, up to a few orders of magnitude up or down, because the exponential update of the blob fee can act relatively quickly. So I'm in favor of the change. There is perhaps smarter things that can be done with the fee markets of blob and gas. There are some interesting proposals for using AMMs, PIDs, etc. I think those deserve to be explored too, but they are more complex and need to be very well understood economically. This EIP is just a very quick and risk-free fix to an obvious problem with the current blob pricing. Thank you so much, PA7X1, for that awesome reply to 18 Burrow. User Dr. ETH provides some good perspective on where Ethereum is currently at. Dr. ETH is a duder number 32. Believe it or not, the blobs upgrade might be one of the bigger reasons why ETH isn't doing much better price-wise. I'm not sure if traders generally consider this a factor, though I would imagine they do, given that ETH performed much better relative to BTC as it had historically between the merge and the last upgrade. Blobs have given the apparent impression that Ethereum is empty and with no activity. The L2's scaling roadmap allows for absolutely explosive activity on L2s, but it makes L1 seem deserted when that L2 activity isn't saturating L1. Is this bad? No. It's fantastic. It is just a consequence of the upgrade and activity not exploding just yet. But this is an illusion. If you take a look at L2 beat in mid-2023 and today, the amount of new L2s is absolutely ridiculous. It seems like there's more new L2s than new apps, and it is insanely easy to underestimate the potential effects of this. While everyone is looking at useless ratios like ETH-BTC or ETH-SOL, plenty of new projects are appearing to develop their own L2s. Ethereum is no longer just an app chain, it's a chain of chains.
This is Sparta!
Pretty much what Polkadot or Cosmos set out to be, but in a more open way, so to speak. I don't understand in full depth the implementation of app chains in these two other projects, but in Ethereum, I know projects can have plenty of different configurations regarding where data is stored, where execution happens, etc., etc. The appearance of macro protocols like eigenlayers a clear telling that there's money to be made in scaling Ethereum. And this is where I presume most of the investor liquidity coming to fund projects on Ethereum is going. I'd be worried when this stops, but not right now. In some ways, what has been built on Ethereum is the ability to have external anchored applications, chains, or other products of this kind, which benefit from inheriting some level of security from the base layer blockchain. So, who's using this? Users, I guess? Right now, there may not be enough activity to justify the price increasing, as Ethereum being saturated in some way equates to cash flows. Right now, given that the future of Ethereum's L2 and base layer explosive activity is on pause as the upgrade just kicked in earlier this year, it is hard for investors to estimate the value of those cash flows. For BTC, the expectation that Bitcoin, the blockchain, will make any changes to itself in order to accommodate new feature sets is pretty much non-existent. On Ethereum, the fact that the base layer can be upgraded and changed allows for new concepts to emerge, for current concepts to be improved, etc. So Ethereum is inherently dependent on the combination of upgrades and activity improving its future cash flows, such as fees from on-chain activity. Right now, this is lackluster or inconsistent. So once this activity starts kicking in, which might depend or not on price, the consistency of those cash flows will be more visible. Basically, it's hard to justify investing large amounts of capital in a peer-to-peer network native currency when there's not enough certainty about its future cash flows. Before the upgrade, such a comparatively meaningless amount of activity would saturate the chain that future cash flows were easier to expect. I think there's several reasons why BTC is outperforming ETH this year. Number one, historically, this is the pattern in bullish periods. BTC outperforms, then it doesn't. Number two, the BTC ETF started trading earlier in the year when the war in the Middle East wasn't at its absolute height of explosiveness, when the economy had a better outlook because the high interest rates hadn't affected the U.S. job market, the profitability of the carry trade, etc. There's many macroeconomic reasons we can point out. But back in early 2024, things looked way better than now, even when plenty of banks had collapsed the year prior due to high interest rates. They don't look that bad now, but the outlook was very bleak during the summer. Number three, the ETH ETFs were a complete uncertainty, and now they're a reality, but they started trading in quite literally the weakest moment in the markets of this year. Number four, network activity on Ethereum has apparently subsided significantly. Not really, but this is what it would seem like to the untrained eye. This is related to what I explained in the post. Number five, BTC is simply more popular, not only due to its brand name, that too, but very importantly because it is a very static, unchanging asset with very little medium-term uncertainty akin to gold, which is something investors like. ETH is more uncertain. Number six, BTC seems to have no competition. ETH seems to have competition, even if it really doesn't. You really have to be really deep into the rabbit hole to understand the value of ETH and the Ethereum blockchain beyond the surface level perspective and investor trading many assets in a traditional sense would have. Many traders trade based on cash flows and certainty of cash flows, and Ethereum carries some uncertainty with it and is having a weak year in terms of cash flows. I won't get into why Sol is outperforming ETH in any meaningful level of detail, but in short, from my perspective, the hype around meme coins, the fact that it's a smaller market cap asset, the price is lower and you can buy a whole unit of it. There's apparent activity on it. It's boosted by entities that want to pump the shit out of it to seek exit liquidity. It has a lot of marketing due to the previous point. It has provided extraordinary returns this year, so there's expectation that this will keep happening. Most of the supply is held by entities that don't sell it, such as large stakers and node operators, which additionally receive most of the inflation, etc., etc. If anyone reads this wall of text, please correct me if you find any flaws in my reasoning. I hope it helps some have perspective as to why I believe ETH's performance this year has been lackluster comparatively to other assets. So, my gosh, man, that was a journey. Dr. ETH, killer stuff. It's kind of a little low grease sounding, if you ask me. It was very well written. User Grow the Pie. User Grow the Pie brings us Layer 2 ecosystem updates. Grow the Pie is a relative newcomer. They have a news channel, and they are this week's Duder number 6. Layer 2 update. Sorry I haven't been as active lately. In real life sometimes gets in the way, but I'm happy with the longer L2 update to try and cover everything I have missed. Layer 2s are growing so fast, they have normalized all-time highs. Ooh, wow. Layer 2s have more value locked in ETH than stable coins. I did not know that. Layer 2 stable coins have grown the equivalent of a small country's GDP this year. Base fees spiked to 20 cents largely due to Prime. Base throughput continues to be raised weekly. Layer 2 DeFi transaction count is on the rise. Metis active addresses reach all-time high. Optimism transaction count on the rise. Arbitrum seeing gas fee spikes for NFT usage. Tyco transaction count making a strong recovery, putting them back in second place. Base multi-chain activity is trending downwards while others are increasing. You can now compare on-chain economics on our economics page. Scroll hits a new all-time high on transaction counts and throughput. It's airdrop season. Layer 2 token transfers approaching new all-time high. Weekly active addresses continue to remain strong. Blobs have burned over 1,000 ETH, with Base having the highest ratio of blob costs for the year. A new report by Coinbase. They have the Guide to Crypto Markets Q4 2024 featuring Ethereum and Layer 2s favorably. Mantle and Scroll TVL are both on the rise and battling to beat each other. We continue to track more Layer 2s, adding Derive and Oderly with more to come. Reminder, if you need to find an address, use our labels page. Base is on track to double the throughput of the whole Layer 2 ecosystem in less than a year. Good luck. Jeez. We had some great Gitcoin rounds thanks to all the donated. Small donations make a big difference. Grow the Pie is now active on-chain governance, currently for ZK Zinc, Arbitrum, and Optimism, and more on the way. Please consider delegating to us. We have improved our Zoom feature. Layer 2 TVL measured in ETH is up only. Blobs have seen spikes in the past, but not so much in the past 90 days with us approaching the target. Is this going to change? Ethereum doesn't have problems. Ethereum has improvements waiting to be implemented. Layer 2s are part of that solution. Gosh, that's a tweet by itself. Reminder to compare Layer 2's use on our single chain pages and use the compare feature. Over half of the Layer 2s we cover are general purpose, and they account for 97.9% of weekly active addresses. Vitalik highlights optimism in working on chain neutral cross-chain interfaces. Layer 2s have used roughly 280 gigabytes of blobs this year. Low L2 fees are less than a year old. The space is young. Hit me up with any Layer 2 questions or observations, and I will do my best to get back to you. Side note, we also released new Octant funding tracker metrics, so be sure to check them out and get involved in the latest round. We are not participating as we missed out on getting selected, but we are tracking all the amazing projects that got through. Thank you, Grow the Pie. Great stuff. User Benito 2030 is briefing us on the community scroll delegate user DeFi Wit. Benito 2030 is a Duder 152 high up on the list. Wow. Scroll snapshot was on Saturday, and I think the airdrop happens tomorrow. For the last 2 weeks, we have been searching for a community delegate, and user DeFi Wit is willing to represent us in the Scroll ecosystem. Thank you for that. I think it's been possible to set up a delegate profile since a few days ago. Have you done that already? If so, would you share it here? We can link it tomorrow. Also, if there's a second delegate, that would be beautiful. I think it's always easier and better if there are two people that know each other, at least a little bit, to discuss things in private first, then post either in the governance forum or ask for feedback here. So any second member willing to do this, happy to share your profile tomorrow as well. Get out there. Thank you, Benito 2030. User Superfizz introduces us to the Ephemery testnet. He went over that earlier today. Ephemery is a regenerating short-lived testnet, is designed for testing, especially for people who want to stake. The testnet resets every 28 days, and all the unused ether is recycled. My current understanding is that if you're running an active validator, you can keep that 32 ether in the new instance. All right. So he says, I think the most exciting thing for me is the opportunity to play slashing games without any fear of consequences. I hope you'll join me. Oh, man, that's awesome. Good job. All right. Cool. Super Fizz getting out there with those stakers. Go team. User 696 ETH brings us the EVMavericks weekly recap. User 696 is he's a guy that helps out a lot on Twitter, as well as behind the scenes on the Daily Doots or the Weekly Doots podcast, getting the word out there. He is a 105. 696. All right. So he's got a blog and newsletter available on Paragraph. Number 1 on the list, Octane Epoch 5 allocation window has started and runs until October 27th. If you have GLM staked, please support the Doots and Astus. Oh, good. So there you go. Get the Doots and the Astus right there on the Octane app. I need to get in there and see if I've got some more. I need to do the Astus Mev relay as well. Let's see.
So,
yeah.
Did you get any of the GLM from Octans, BT? Are you in that group?
I did. I think I got some. Yeah, I don't have my...
The actual amount of like earnings you have is probably less than a cent, but the multiplier for contributing is like 160x. So it's worth giving away your like $2.
Yeah.
Even if you have to pay $2 in gas because of the effect, the multiplier.
Let me see. Maybe I could connect my wallet here. Let's see. See if I have any more to give. Yeah. So James gave me some GLM. I remember. Let me see if okay. There's me. All right. You can see what I'm doing here. Go to the home page. Personal allocation. Enter GLM.
Yeah. See your rewards up there. You see how it's like tiny? It's like 0.0053 or above that. Actually, you scroll down, but it's scroll up.
Go all the way up.
Total reward. Yeah, you have your current rewards of 0.0053 and your total rewards of 0.0085. Those are tiny numbers, right?
Right.
However, because of the multiplier, it will still amount to a decent amount. So if you go to your shopping cart in the upper right,
shopping cart upper right. Doots
currently
podcast.
Have the Doots cast, matching. See that 119x? So if you give 0.0053 ETH away, it will match 0.6304 ETH to the Doots podcast. If you want to also add your Asus relay to your shopping cart, you can split your 0.0053 amongst those two.
Yeah, let's do it. How about that? So we're doing it live.
AETHIR. No, is it? Yeah, whatever.
AES. There it is.
There
so
we go.
hit the heart. Okay.
You're right. Okay, so you just need to...
Let me X out of this real quick. And then
there should be 2 things in your shopping cart now, so you should just be able to click the shopping cart.
I'm going to go and refresh. Okay.
Right. Paranoid man.
Yeah. So let me edit. There we go. Did I do that?
Okay. A little buggy, yeah.
Okay, so
donate it all.
Donate it all, and it's going to split it.
And then look at that, 0.70 to Astus and point.
Keep talking. I'm going to log into my Lattice.
Your fancy $400 desktop computer.
Yeah. Okay, I think I got logged in. Let me see. Okay, it says waiting. Now I got to get on the MetaMask here and activity. Oh, am I supposed to be like on the Optimism or something? Let me switch over. What? Oh, here. Let's try it again. Excuse me. Why is it doing this? I don't want to back up now. This is the thing that kills me is the pop-up on the freaking MetaMask hides like what you're trying to do. Okay, so there's that. And then should pop, yep. Groovy, baby. I think I made it. Yeah, I was touching things. And things,
Very cool.
There we go. Whoa, it said 207x. So that ended up being a 1.1 ETH impact.
Yep, told you. It's got a huge, because the multiplier, it's a huge impact. So be sure to give away the proceeds on your GLM, that like 3.5%. Be sure to give that away.
Okay. And I just do that every epoch whenever it comes up.
Whenever it comes up. That's right.
Yeah, because I bought a bunch of GLM once upon a time. When they first started, I just was like, hey, I'm going to do some stuff with this. And then I guess it like kind of spits out some more. I love this place. You know what? I mean, this is so wholesome. It's pretty rad with what's going on there at Octant. I mean, man, this is the kind of stuff the world needs to know about, you know? Not the.
Oh, we've had James on to tell him. We've done our part.
I know.
I don't know what more we can do.
Maybe I just need like a bigger, fancier microphone. That would really.
That would, of course, do it. Yeah.
That would. I mean, it's obvious. That's what people want to see is a golden microphone. Okay. So great job.
Oh, there's a certain group of people who follow Richard Hart that certainly want to see a golden microphone.
Oh, does he use a golden microphone?
If you've never seen his backdrop, it is pretentious as fuck.
Okay, is this on the YouTubes? Where is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Richard Hart.
Is he still allowed to like?
He's still scamming. Yeah.
Oh wow, amazing. I bet I could. Okay, so he's got a Shure podcast, just a standard Shure podcast microphone. Let's see what his latest video is 8 months ago. Okay, so this is him. Oh,
got a surprise.
God, he does have a gold chandelier.
He's sitting on a literal throne. He's got his gold chandelier. He's got his like chromiumed watches beside him. He's got his like crystal swan in the white, display case there. Yes, when he pulls out the microphone, it's like chromed up, right? Like it is pretentious as fuck.
Oh man, you know what? He looks exactly like a guy I went to high school or grade school with. If that guy was to grow up, he would have been exactly like this and looked just like him too. It just bugs me.
The dangerous thing about Richard Hart is he's very coherent, and I have heard him just demolish like BTC maxis, right? He's
a politician in his skill,
and he's very careful in what he says to never make it seem like market manipulation, never make it seem like investment advice, to make it seem common sense. He's coherent. He is a dangerous person to listen to because he's got that persuasiveness, but at the same time, every project he's done has the same trajectory, right?
Yeah.
And you know why.
I remember him being on ETH Trader. This is a long time ago. He was in the dailies on ETH Trader, I think. And then obviously he made his mark on the Hex. Is that what it's called?
Yep, that was one of the recent projects. But if he wanted to come on, I'd have a conversation with him.
Oh man,
that would be we could have fun. But
I would look like a. He'd make me look like a bitch.
Yeah, well, I'd be doing the technical interview.
he would. I'm honest, dude. Like, I'm no good at chess. I'm more of like a tic-tac-toe kind of guy. You know that. He would eat me for lunch, and I would acknowledge. I mean, when I listen to him, it's okay. He's making a lot of sense, but I can just feel that something is not right. And that's enough for me.
Summon the reply.
It's like an emotional intelligence thing. That's all I can write on. Is like my gut and my heart doesn't like what I'm hearing. My brain's going, okay, these are intelligible words. It's a good talk. It's smooth, making a lot of cases. But then at the end of the day,
much more so than the people I've heard from Solana, right? Like, and I've spoken to people from the Solana Foundation.
Yeah,
and they want to make arguments that are like they're disingenuous or using very cherry-picked data, and I can call them out on it. And you just kind of get into these semantic, pedantic kind of arguments, right?
Yeah.
Rather than making any headway.
Yep.
But the fact is they are arriving at a conclusion because they're making money from it, and then they're backing their logic up into whatever would reach that conclusion.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating to try and have a conversation with them because they're not being intellectually honest, right?
Yeah.
They're not looking at the data, they're not looking at the principles and deriving something.
Yeah.
They're looking at how do I make SOL price go up, and then they're constructing an argument for that. And they'll have charts, they'll have Dune dashboards that show things that look very bullish for them, and they'll have arguments about like how each direction is wrong. It's not just they're trying to make money, it's that liquidity fragmentation is a problem, that they're not talking to the apps, the communication structure is broken, the governance structure is broken, it's inefficient, it's right? But like all of those things aren't inherently better with SOL or really going to address any of the fundamental problems that Ethereum pivoted in this direction to address, right? Like scalability. So you just know, like, okay, well, what do you do when Solana's congested, right? You still have massive inflation. The amount of fees you would need to get to make any fundamental value, right, or to get the speeds that we would have from L2s, the amount of fees that you would need would make people not use Solana anymore. So you haven't really addressed the long-term scalability factor with your design, right? It's like Solana is eventually destined to be just another ETH L2.
And correct. The amount of there's not a real off-the-shelf kind of computer set up with standard internet bandwidth that anyone can even stake on it, correct? And
no, you need mainframes.
And
no,
furthermore, can anyone, if they did have a mainframe, stake on it?
I think you could buy enough SOL and execute that. Yeah, I think that you can join a validator as a permissionless entity. However, since the investments you're talking about are like $1 million, right?
And that's my whole point.
And the $1 million club of people all know each other.
Yeah,
they can do fun things like willingly halt the chain just by communicating. So the value of decentralization partly comes from the inability of anonymous actors to collude with one another for evil. If you all know each other, then you're not anonymous actors practically.
Yeah,
and you can still collude. So the value of the Sybil resistance, the value of the Nakamoto coefficient, really derives from the inability of those actors to coordinate. Because if you conspire, the chance of having a leak is proportional to the number of actors, right? So, that's why you can't fake the NASA moon landing, NASA moon landing. So the paradigm breaks down when you have a bunch of actors who are all rich and know each other and can get into a Discord room and talk to each other and make coordinated actions.
It's just the number of people that are okay with that. The
number of people that are okay with the chain having actually shut down like a dozen times, right?
Yeah.
Being like, yeah, whatever, I guess I didn't need my money then.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they can collude to shut down the chain also means that they could collude to hard fork the chain, have an irregular state change, and just say you don't have any SOL anymore. They could just take all your money. They could change the chain to say whatever they want because they have enough people coordinating to do so. And that is the fact that you can do that basically in 24 hours just because they all know each other is a very scary place to be. It's not fundamentally much better than a slightly modified database with a multi-sig credential. It's not fundamentally much better than that.
Yeah, it bugs me the fact that I just don't. I think what's frustrating is we're on the dumbest timeline we've seen, and not just everywhere, not just in crypto. It's just everything's freaking stupid, man. Crazy but that just seals the deal even more right there. Is just how are people so? I don't know. We're just losing touch.
We lost the plot when a bunch of
yeah.
We lost the plot when a bunch of people got
pretty rich in 2017, off of some stupid things called ICOs with all the scams. And then we lost the plot again. It's like every time that we get an inflush of money, it only amplifies the stupidity and the scams in the system.
Yeah.
And at this point, the legitimate effort feels like an ever shrinking part of the pie.
It's like the bicycle with the kid with the stick, like we keep tripping ourselves.
Yeah, it's not even just that. We're just diluting. There's like a goodness entropy in the space because the incentive structure is that people who are dishonest can make more money, right? With meme coins, with, Hex, with, Solana, with VCs. Like everyone's out to make their dollar in the cryptocurrency ecosystem.
Yeah.
And they have made a lot of those dollars, and that has allowed them to amplify their voices and do it again better next time, right?
Yeah.
So the power in the ecosystem has been flowing increasingly to less informed, like deliberately misleading takes at the expense of more legitimate thought, deeper thought, deeper governance systems, things like Gitcoin grants, things like digital ID systems. Those things have been kind of put to the back burner, at least amongst the crypto Twitter and the social media ecosystem that we have, right?
Yeah, it's like the marketing versus technology dollar ratio is, for going back to Solana, it's so out of whack. Like, I don't even know if is there anything. When I think of public goods on Ethereum, I have switched my thinking over from being crypto-centered public goods to just public goods in general. And I just don't know where the ethos is in any other community that thinks like that. And that just kind of bugs me, I guess. Like, they don't have their own version of charity or whatever. I don't even know if charity is the right word.
Not even an attempt at it.
Okay. Well,
right, they don't even have an attempt at that. That's not even a goal, right?
Yeah.
Changing the world for the better is not something they are even trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's and they're very honest about that.
Yeah.
But the people that at least I'm trying to spend more of my time around are trying to make a positive impact on the world.
Despite all of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that definitely shifting my attention, like with all the doom and gloom in Ethfinance, I had just haven't been as much a regular poster there because, well, I can get most of the worthwhile stuff out of the Doots and then use more of my time on making a positive impact in the world.
Yeah, and the problem is I hope it doesn't become a feedback loop of a downward spiral where it's like more fear and FUD begets less posting, which begets less duding, which begets less involvement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I can be a little bit puzzled in a moment, but it's gonna take a lot to break me. I'm kind of too dumb to be broken anyway, so it works to my advantage. Like, I'm still enjoying it. We just did a thing on the Octon app today, thanks to you illuminating it. So we got time for two more Doots here. Interweaver discusses the difference between price and value. Oh, here we go. I like it already. Duder number 49. Interweaver says, it is fascinating to me how many people here and elsewhere still haven't realized that price and value are two separate concepts, only extremely loosely bound by the collective unintelligence of the market. On one hand, this means that poor price performance does not and should not imply anything about the fundamental value of something. Many ETH Winance posters, that's a funny sub by the way, make that mistake. They say ETH, the asset, performing badly compared to the other cherry-picked assets on certain cherry-picked timelines, and feel the need to build a counterfactual narrative about how Ethereum, the platform, must therefore be falling behind on most fundamental metrics. That, I'm going to interject here, that's actually very well said. We got people now that are still like considering cherry-picked data and then enabling the FUD by rationalizing it and putting it down on paper. On the other hand, it goes on, He goes on, it means that even outstanding fundamental value does not guarantee anything about price performance on any particular timeline. Many bull posters here, myself included, have fallen into this trap. Assuming that Ethereum's stellar fundamentals mean we will see a good price performance in the near medium term future. This is equally a logical misstep. The most innately valuable asset in the world can be sold for precisely $0 if nobody understands why it should be valued. Arguments will be made about how the, quote, markets are efficient, unquote, and that price and value should be tightly coupled. But I will emphatically suggest that, at least in the realm of crypto, the markets and their participants have been and remain to this day, in an overwhelming majority, catastrophically ignorant. This will change in time, but I'm increasingly realize that this time will be measured in decades, not in months or years. If you can avoid the trap of assuming a timely or intelligent linkage between price and value in either direction, you will save yourself needless hand-wringing, avoiding getting your hopes up prematurely, and perhaps, if you are still in a position to be patient and stay informed, realize that the opportunity this massive informational asymmetry still presents years and years after we first started noticing it. Probably the most fundamental assumption of investing, as opposed to gambling, is the proposition that eventually, over some arbitrarily long time frame, markets do finally realize what's up, and price does synchronize with value. And when that happens, those of us who didn't give up on Ethereum because the ignorant markets were ignoring Ether, and yet who also didn't let all the bull posts convince us to take unwise risks and were therefore able to stay in the game long term, when that happens, we will be very, very happy. That's very well said, Interweaver. I love it. Weeks, not months, but actually years and decades.
I have heard the phrase many times, the most bullish thing for Ethereum is to be understood.
Yep.
And going back to many of the other dudes this week, right? It's like, I think we're making it way too complicated. Like Dr. Eith's post is beautifully written, but I don't think that anyone's even looking at the fundamentals of the chain. And if you're over at these financial institutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that anyone's looking at cash flows. I don't think that anyone's looking at which is a better buy. Like that, I think they're just, oh, well, Bitcoin's the oldest. It has the most legitimacy. It was there first. And so toxic maxis are they're going to be there and have had a very hard time to switch. And so due to being the front runner on that and having been greatly empowered by the early run up of Bitcoin from, like a penny to $60,000, they're in it for that forever, right? They're do or die.
Yep.
And they clearly have gotten to the political apparatus as well.
Yep.
Right. So Trump showed up at a Bitcoin conference. He didn't show up at an Ethereum conference. It took an extra year or two for Larry Fink to even mention Ethereum, really.
RFK did, though, for what it's worth.
For what it's worth.
Eat Denver, for what it's worth.
For what it's worth. Just my point is, I think that the actual reason why it's not getting picked up institutionally, the actual reason why the ETF is not getting bought as much, the actual reason why we're underperforming for inflows is just Ethereum isn't understood, right? No one's taking the time to understand it.
I agree. And the people that are running the institutions, there's just somebody revealed, I don't know if it was on X or whatever, it was maybe Van Eck. I'm trying to remember which one. But essentially, the internal dialogue was just go with Bitcoin. And so to your point, they're not explaining the value proposition to their investors at all because they're not taking the time to try to understand it. It's easier just to say, limited supply, number go up. Here's a chart. Any questions? No. 10 years? Perfect. Put my money there. It has never gone backwards.
It's a decorrelated asset, right? So
totally.
by their investment strategy, they are obligated to allocate some portion of like
right, of the retirement fund to cryptocurrency as a decorrelated asset. Which asset? Just go with Bitcoin. Right? Like it really, no one is looking at cash flow. No one is looking at block saturation, blobs, liquidity fragmentation.
Not yet.
They're never going to actually use the chain, by the way, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna stay in a custodian the entire time that they hold it. And that custodian just moves it from one, database record to another in order to transfer ownership. So it's not even using the chain. It even withdrawing is going to be limited to authorized participants. So if you want to arbitrage it, you can. Well, someone can, but you can't. It's more accurate. It is just going to be that way, I'm afraid, until someone like BlackRock really takes up, far beyond Biddle and starts to, or someone like Coinbase actually makes coin tokens that represent shares of stock and that can be traded on the Ethereum mainnet.
Yeah.
Until there's another like really major breakthrough in some regulatory certainty that allows someone like Coinbase to take those risks. Because, they've been doing very benign things and still getting sued by the SEC for them. So they're going to tread cautiously, and it's going to be a long time where it's not going to happen in the US, right? But eventually, it's just such a good idea, right? Fundamentally, the technology has so many benefits that it'll catch on.
Well,
it's not in the time frame we're hoping.
It's going to be the meme of, let's fast forward in the future. Now shares of ETFs are actually traded on chain, and there's still some intern at a major office eating glue talking about Bitcoin. The meme with the kid in the glue bottle sitting there spousing about whatever. All right, user Next Level Fantasy. This is going to round out our week. User Next Level Fantasy is a duder number 2, and they brought out the GG22 is live posts, a Gitcoin round, over $1.4 million in matching funds, to make sure your passport.xyz score is updated. I need to get in there. Enjoy the perpetual vibes in the 24/7 Let's Grow live Twitter space, and Gitcoin is hosting spaces as well. Gitcoin open source software rounds include dev tooling, Web3 infrastructure, DApps and apps, and hackathon alumni. The community rounds, land regenerators, Ma Earth Grants Round 2, ENS Ecosystem, BioFi Pathfinders, Growing the Public Gardens, Allo Builders Advancement, Regen Citizens Genesis, and Youth in Need. And that's going to round out this week's Daily Doots and or the Weekly Doots podcast. I'm glad you guys could join us this week. Thanks for subbing and smashing the bells. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. All those things help us out up in that algorithm magic thing in the sky they got going on. Stick around after the live stream, because we continue the party in the hotel lobby on Discord for a bonus hour of popcorn. It's a fun place to let loose when the parents aren't watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom. On behalf of Ethfinance and the JT, cheers and big hugs from Kansas City.